If you've ever Googled how much do I need to retire, you've likely gotten the same responses over and over again. You need 25 times your expenses, you need at least $1 million, and here's a 4% rule that we're also going to adhere to. Now you're done. The issue with this form of retirement planning is it's built on a standard retirement of age 65. Those people are retiring and walking right into Medicare enrollment and possibly turning on Social Security. When retiring at age 60, the formula dramatically changes, and you could be off by hundreds of thousands of dollars by not considering some of the topics that we'll cover today. In my last video, I created a 7-step checklist for people getting ready for retirement at age 60. The number one question that I got after posting that video was, what is my retirement number? So today, we're going to cover the 4 factors that I think influence retirement planning the most, that I think retirement calculators fail to include. My name is Jesse-Stacy. I'm a certified financial planning professional and an enrolled agent, and I help people over the age of 50 prepare and live in retirement. The math that I'm about to show you is the same math that I use with my clients in everyday lives. Let's get into it. So why do the standard rules start to fall apart when you're retired at age 60? One of the main culprits is the 4% rule. The 4% rule states that you can withdraw 4% of your portfolio each year and be pretty confident that you are not going to run out of money. This calculation is based on a 30-year time horizon. So if you retire at age 65 and live till 95, that's how that math works out fairly well. So what happens when you retire at 60 and live to that same 95 or even 100? The math starts to strain on that portfolio. A longer time horizon also means more room for sequence of return risk. So if you have a 30% pullback in the market, that pullback may impact the withdrawals from your portfolio for a few years. What you don't want to do is be in a habit of selling at the bottom to fund your retirement plan. This is a very common problem when people are too aggressive while they're entering retirement. So one of the factors that gets ignored the most is healthcare expenses. Healthcare is one of the largest costs in your retirement, and even larger if you retire before Medicare begins. Retiring at age 60 over 65 is losing 5 years of that private health insurance. So lastly is the tax layer. The tax layer is the one that drives me the craziest. People don't assume that you're going to have a tax bill in retirement when they talk about the 4% rule or $1 million or other arbitrary figures. We need to look at tax equivalency based on your personalized circumstance. So let's actually build the real number. And to do that, we're going to look through 4 different layers. Layer 1. This is where we get a true annual spending for you. Basic living expenses is always going to be my starting point. I start here with housing, transportation, food, and utilities. Next is travel and lifestyle. Let's be honest, travel and lifestyle is what a lot of us are looking forward to in those first early years of retirement. I would expect higher expenses early in retirement and dwindling travel and lifestyle expenses later in retirement. Next, we got healthcare premiums and also out-of-pocket expenses. I'm going to budget those separately. Home projects don't end when we retire, so let's budget annual maintenance and other expenses that we can plan on. Lastly, we're going to look at taxes, and we're going to also look at this as a separate line item. In my experience working with successful individuals entering retirement, they have this idea that they're going to be spending significantly less. This is most of the time not true. If you're retiring early and healthy, you are likely to spend as much, if not more, in retirement on some of the things that you never had time for. It's very common for a new retiree that's retiring early to spend somewhere between $8,000 to $12,000 a month on discretionary items. The point isn't to spend as little as possible. It's to be honest with what you plan on doing in your retirement and planning around those things and seeing what is possible. So the next layer is layer 2, and that's going to be the tax gross up. This is a portion where most advisors kind of miss when they talk about spending numbers. They say, you're going to spend $10,000 a month. What they're missing is the additional amount that you're going to need to pay in taxes, assuming that all of your assets are in Roth IRA or Roth 401k equivalents. Planning to spend $10,000 a month with withdrawals out of your traditional IRA or 401k isn't actually $10,000 a month. So in this first example that we're going to go over, I have a married couple Age 60, $10,000 a month spending goal. Money is primarily in pre-tax accounts, and they are not Social Security eligible. So the need is $120,000 a year. They're going to have a 2026 standard deduction of $32,200 as a starting point. So depending on which state tax they're paying, that $120,000 withdrawal actually needs to be somewhere between $145,000 and $155,000. That amount is $25,000 to $30,000 more than what the standard calculator might show on a retirement website. So if we reference the retirement calculator again, that 4% rule at $120,000 is going to give you a $3 million portfolio need. Now that we know that we need to include taxes, that $120,000 is closer to a $150,000 withdrawal, and that 4% rule is close to 3.750. That, my friends, is not a rounding error. That is a tax gross up. The next layer is layer 3, the healthcare bridge. If you plan on retiring at age 60, you have at least 5 years before Medicare eligibility. During this 5-year window, you are 100% responsible for paying your health insurance premiums. This number can be quite shocking when you start digging into the details. Health insurance costs before Medicare begins almost entirely relies on your modified adjusted gross income. I have a graphic that shows that once your income reaches that $150,000 mark, you pay substantially more than those who are making less than $40,000. When we go back to the previous layer, we were talking about the gross up of taxation. The gross up of taxation, knowing that you want to spend the way you want to spend and live the life that you want to live in retirement, has a repercussion when retiring early, such as more Medicare expenses or more pre-Medicare expenses. Depending on marriage status, you may want to add $12,000 up to $36,000 a month for healthcare costs for those 5 years. Very quickly, we realized the 4% rule may not quite be 4%. This cost does drop after you hit 65, but you don't want to ignore it for the first 5 years. The last layer that we're going to cover is layer 4, the Social Security bridge. Here's the good news. Most of us are going to receive some sort of benefit from Social Security. For every dollar that we get from Social Security, we protect $1 of withdrawals in our portfolio. The question is, when do we take Social Security? The bridge concept. We plan on retiring at age 60, and we plan on turning on our Social Security at age 67. During this 7-year gap, we're going to have 100% of our income coming out of our portfolio. Now let's assume there's a $3,500 a month benefit starting at age 67. That's $42,000 per year. From age 60 to 67, using that $150,000 total spending number, we would need $150,000 of withdrawals out of a traditional IRA or a 401k account. Once we hit age 67 and we turn our Social Security on, now we no longer need $150,000, we need $108,000 to bridge the gap. Building out a personalized Social Security claiming strategy can be very important when trying to protect our assets, but also make smart money decisions. So let's put all 4 layers together and give you a real number. Let's recap some of the entries that we discussed earlier. $10,000 a month of targeted spending, which is $120,000 per year. Let's add also $24,000 per year in health insurance costs from 60 to 65. Let's perform a tax gross up, and let's make that figure $180,000. Then we'll tie in our $42,000 of Social Security benefits starting at age 67. So from ages 60 to 65, you're going to need health care with no Social Security, withdrawing $180,000 per year. Using the benchmark 4% rule, your portfolio would need $4.5 million. From age 65 to 67, your health insurance would then drop off and it would go into Medicare. Medicare premiums would be based on income and whether you're married or single. So for 2 married individuals, let's use $10,000 as a new cost. Brings total withdrawals needed from age 65 to 67 to $162,500. The 4% rule, that would mean you would need just over $4 million. So after age 67, your benefit for Social Security would kick in, and and your withdrawal would need to be around $120,500. The 4% rule, this brings the portfolio needed to $3,012,500. As you can see during this process, we have three different amounts over a 7-year period of where I would say that your portfolio needs to be before making the decision to jump into retirement. So some things that might impact the numbers today, or if you have Roth 401k or Roth IRA assets, HSA assets, higher Social Security benefit, other pensions, even continuing to work part-time in retirement. I do want to be clear with you. I did not show you these numbers today to scare you. I just wanted to inform you that the 4% rule that you may see online isn't tailored to your unique situation. If you're in your 50s thinking about retire at 60 or 60s getting ready to retire, I highly recommend going through an exercise like that and learning your numbers. Spending, taxes, healthcare, and Social Security timing are 4 extremely important layers of building a successful retirement plan. This is the kind of work that I do on a daily basis with my clients. As a certified financial planner and enrolled agent, I always tie in tax work with my financial plans. If you're interested in learning more, please see my contact information below, and I'll see you in the next one.